Another way to protect your family is actually to have a probate on your death. And this is really misunderstood. And the reason for that is that people think, why would I want my family to have to go through a probate on my death? That's a lot of work. There's legal fees. That's a hassle. Right. Anytime that there needs to be an estate administration, a probate, it's going to involve work. It's going to involve fees. Hopefully it won't be a big hassle, but it is work. So why would anybody ever want to have a probate? The reason for that is it protects assets and it can protect family members. Let me give you the biggest reason we recommend probate. It has to do with when we have a married couple and one or both of that couple, let's say they're older, and you probably know statistically, the older you get, the more likely you are to need long-term care. But you want to protect assets for your spouse. So if you die first, then your spouse is not going to become impoverished through them having to spend all the money on long-term care costs. A last will is the way to protect your spouse against becoming impoverished from long-term care costs. And I'll explain how that works. In the state of Washington, it's the only way to protect your spouse from having to spend down all the money they inherit from you before they can qualify for Medicaid. It's not just about your spouse. So anybody who needs any kind of asset protection, special needs child, or any other person who might be on government benefits, having a will with the right kind of trust in it is going to protect your loved ones. So I talked about the couple. Let me give you more detailed information about how it would work. Let's say we have Joan and John, and they have $1 million estate. Joan has advanced dementia, but fortunately, she and her husband, John, got their estate plan prepared by an elder law attorney before Joan lost capacity, before she lost the ability to put a plan in place. And John cares for her in their home, and they're doing okay. But if he passes first, Joan is not going to be able to stay in the home. She needs 24/7 care. She's going to move into a care facility. John dies. Now, with standard estate planning, everything goes outright to Joan, no asset protection, no trust. If they have that 3-prong community property agreement, everything goes to her. She's going to need to spend down $1 million on her long-term care before the state will pay for her care, and then the kids will end up with nothing. That is a very common, unfortunate estate plan. Unfortunately, they went to an elder law attorney and they have the correct estate plan for them, which is when John dies, we know that at least 1/2 of the assets, at least $500,000, are going to go through probate. This is why probate's important, and fund this trust for Joan, the survivor. At least $500,000 will go into the trust. So worst case scenario is that she will need to spend half of the assets down on her care, but at least $500,000 will be in that trust. Medicaid doesn't count anything that's in that trust, anything. It's exempt. It's not countable. It's not lienable. It doesn't interfere with eligibility. The fact that Joan has $500,000 in a trust is not going to interfere with the state paying for her benefits. At some times, we can protect up to 100% of the couple's assets. Let's say we know John is going to be dying. Then they've done a separate property agreement where they put all the assets into the name of the dying spouse. Joan owns nothing. $1 million, the entirety of what was the couple's estate, can fund this trust for Joan. She's immediately medically eligible. She doesn't have to apply for Medicaid, or the trustee doesn't have to apply for Medicaid if it's not appropriate, but she's eligible. So the option is that she can go on Medicaid and the state can pay for her care, despite the fact she has $1 million in a trust. That money is there to ensure that she will never become impoverished. She will always have the best quality of care, the best quality of life that she can. And at the end of the day, when she dies, the state gets nothing. Everything goes wherever they wanted it to go, the couple to their kids or wherever it would go. The example I'm giving you is, why would you want probate? Because you want to make sure your spouse doesn't become impoverished. Yes, let's say you had to pay $5,000, $10,000 for the cost of a probate. You've protected $500,000, $1 million, or whatever the dollar amount may be, because you had a probate. That's a benefit. And that benefit that I just explained to you in Washington State can only be obtained by going through a probate process, because a will is the only way to establish this type of trust for the surviving spouse. That's one of the benefits of having a probate. And it's not just for your surviving spouse. We'll get to talking about other ways to protect your loved ones. This trust that I just explained to you would protect against any unnecessary estate taxes. In Washington, our estate tax level is $2.193 million. This trust that I just explained works as a tax protection trust as well. It protects not just your spouse, but anybody who might need asset protection. Maybe you have an adult child who has lifestyle issues, drug or alcohol. Gives creditor protection. Sometimes the probate is a really good idea so that we can get rid of any creditors' claims that aren't valid or shouldn't be paid or can be excluded. Having a probate can be a really important way to protect the ones you love. Number 7, how else can you protect the ones you love?